The galaxy stretched endlessly, its stars like scattered diamonds against an infinite black canvas. Humanity had reached far beyond Earth's atmosphere, colonizing planets light years away. But despite their technological prowess, humans were still fragile, a fact they often forgot until disaster struck. Elena Voss stood at the edge of her ship's observation deck, staring into the void. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass, a reminder of who she once was, a decorated captain, fearless and respected. Now, she was little more than a ghost haunting the corridors of a bureaucracy she despised. The war heroes of yesterday became desk jockeys today, buried under paperwork and politics. That's what happened when peace lasted too long. But peace, as Elena would soon learn, was just another illusion. Chapter 1. Whispers in the dark. It started with rumors. Whispered. Reports from distant colonies about strange ships appearing near their borders. At first, no one paid much attention. Space was vast and uncharted vessels weren't uncommon. But then came the screams. The colony of New Haven was the first to fall. Its people vanished overnight, leaving behind only silence. Communication channels went dead, and reconnaissance drones sent to investigate returned with horrifying images. Scorched landscapes, shattered buildings, and bodies floating lifelessly in zero gravity. Whatever attacked New Haven hadn't come for diplomacy. It came for destruction. Other colonies followed. Each attack was swift and brutal, carried out by an unknown enemy. The invaders hit small, vulnerable outposts where defenses were weakest. They took resources, water, minerals, even people, and left devastation in their wake. No one knew who they were or why they attacked. All anyone could agree on was this: humanity wasn't ready. Earth's government dismissed the attacks as isolated incidents. Pirates, they called them, though no one truly believed it. Pirates didn't move with such precision or power. Still, the leaders of Earth refused to act, fearing the cost of war more than the threat itself. After decades of complacency, Earth's mighty fleet sat idle, collecting dust in orbital docks. Elena watched all of this unfold from her cramped office aboard the orbital station Solace. She read every report, studied every image, and felt a growing unease settle in her chest. Something bigger was coming. She could feel it. Chapter 2. A reluctant hero. One evening, as Elena sifted through classified files late into the night, she stumbled upon something unusual. Buried deep within encrypted data was a pattern, coordinates of recent attacks plotted across a star map. When connected, the points formed a clear trajectory. The attackers weren't random, they were heading somewhere specific. Elena leaned back in her chair, heart pounding. If the pattern held true, the next target would be Elysium 7, a mining colony rich in rare metals, and if Elysium fell, so would half the supply chain sustaining Earth's economy. She tried to warn her superiors, but they brushed her off. "Captain Voss," Admiral Hargrove said during their brief meeting, "we appreciate your diligence, but there's no evidence suggesting these attacks are coordinated. Until we have proof." "Proof?" Elena interrupted, her voice sharp. "You want proof? By the time you get it, millions will be dead." Her outburst earned her a reprimand and a reminder that insubordination wouldn't be tolerated. Frustrated but undeterred, Elena decided to take matters into her own hands. She couldn't do this alone, though. She needed help. Her first recruit was Malik Rourke, a disgraced engineer who'd been exiled to maintenance duty after a failed experiment nearly destroyed a prototype vessel. Malik was brilliant, but reckless, qualities Elena both admired and feared. When she approached him, he looked up from his cluttered workstation with skepticism. "What makes you think I'll risk my neck for some wild theory?" he asked. "Because if I'm right, we're all dead anyway," Elena replied. "And because you owe humanity better than this." Malik hesitated, then nodded. "All right, Captain. Let's see where this madness takes us." Next, she turned to Zara Lynn, a young cadet eager to prove herself. Zara had joined the academy hoping to follow in her father's footsteps, a legendary pilot who died defending a colony years ago. Though inexperienced, her determination made her invaluable. Elena saw potential in her, and Zara didn't disappoint. With her team assembled, Elena commandeered a small scout ship, the dauntless Goku, and set course for Elysium 7. Time was running out. Chapter 3. First Contact. When the Dauntless arrived at Elysium 7, everything seemed eerily quiet. The colony's lights flickered weakly and communication attempts went unanswered. As they scanned the area, Elena noticed something odd, a faint energy signature emanating from the asteroid belt nearby. "It's a cloaked ship," Malik muttered, analyzing the readings. "They're hiding." "Not anymore," Elena said, grimly. "Prepare for engagement." Moments later, the enemy revealed itself. 3 sleek, angular ships emerged from the shadows, their hulls glinting ominously in the starlight. These were no pirates. They were advanced, deadly, and unmistakably alien. The Krylos Collective had arrived. The battle began almost instantly. The Krylos opened fire without warning, their weapons cutting through space like lightning. The Dauntless shuddered under the assault, its shields holding, but barely. Elena barked orders, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "We can't win this fight," Malik shouted over the alarms. "We're outnumbered." "I know," Elena snapped, "but we can buy time." As the skirmish raged on, Elena realized the truth. The Krylos weren't here to conquer. They were scouts, testing Elysium's defenses before calling in reinforcements. If she let them leave, the colony would be doomed. "Malik, overload the reactor," she ordered. "We're taking them with us." "What?" Malik stared at her in disbelief. "You're insane." "Trust me," Elena said firmly. "Do it." Reluctantly, Malik complied. While Zara piloted the Dauntless toward the largest Krylos vessel, Elena armed the self-destruct sequence. Just as the enemy closed in, the Dauntless detonated in a blinding explosion, obliterating 2 of the 3 ships. The third fled, damaged, but intact. The blast also destroyed Elysium 7's mining facilities, rendering the colony useless to the Krylos. It was a hard choice, but Elena knew it was the only way to save lives. Chapter 4. A grim warning back on Earth, Elena faced scrutiny for her actions. Some hailed her as a hero. Others condemned her as a reckless warmonger. Despite the backlash, she refused to stay silent. "They're coming," she told anyone who would listen. "This isn't just about colonies. They're targeting Earth next." Her warnings fell on deaf ears, at least among the politicians, but whispers spread among the people, igniting fear and anger. Elena's defiance inspired others to speak out, forcing Earth's leaders to confront the reality they'd ignored for so long. Meanwhile, intelligence reports confirmed Elena's fears. The Krylos had developed a weapon capable of bypassing Earth's orbital defenses, a weapon that could reduce humanity's greatest stronghold to rubble. Worse, rumors circulated of traitors within Earth's government aiding the invaders. Humanity's days of complacency were over. The storm was coming, and Elena Voss intended to meet it head-on. The galaxy was waking up, but it wasn't a peaceful awakening. News of the Krylos Collective spread like wildfire, igniting fear and outrage across humanity's scattered colonies. Earth's leaders could no longer ignore the threat, though. Their response was sluggish at best. Meetings dragged on, debates raged, and accusations flew as politicians squabbled over resources and strategies. Meanwhile, the Krylos continued their relentless advance, picking off weaker colonies one by one. Elena Voss stood in the center of a dimly lit hangar aboard the orbital station Solace. Around her, rows of ancient ships sat like sleeping giants, covered in dust and rust. These were relics of a bygone era, vessels that had once patrolled the stars during humanity's golden age of expansion. Now they were all Earth had left. Captain Elena hadn't asked for this responsibility, but she'd earned it through sheer determination. After her daring sacrifice at Elysium 7, public opinion swayed in her favor. Though some still doubted her methods, no one could deny her resolve. The government reluctantly handed her command of what they called the Forgotten Fleet, a ragtag collection of outdated ships and inexperienced crews. "You really think you can do this?" Malik Rourke asked, leaning against a workbench, cluttered with tools and spare parts. His tone was skeptical, but his eyes betrayed admiration. "I don't have a choice," Elena replied, running her hand along the hull of an old cruiser. Its paint was faded, its surface scarred from years of neglect. "If we don't stop them, who will?" Malik sighed, shaking his head. "These ships are junk. Half of them won't even start without major repairs." "Then fix them," Elena said firmly. "That's why I brought you here." Nearby, Zara Lynn paced back and forth, reviewing personnel files on a tablet. Her youthful face was etched with worry, but her voice carried confidence when she spoke. "Most of these recruits have never seen combat. Some barely know how to operate basic systems." "They'll learn," Elena said simply. "We don't have time for perfection. We just need enough to survive." As the days turned into weeks, the hangar transformed into a hive of activity. Crews worked around the clock, patching holes, rewiring circuits, and retrofitting engines. Malik became a whirlwind of energy, shouting orders and improvising solutions with whatever scraps he could find. Zara drilled the new recruits tirelessly, teaching them everything from navigation to weapons handling. And Elena? She walked among them, offering guidance and encouragement, reminding everyone why they were fighting. But not everyone shared their sense of urgency. Colonies argued over whether to contribute troops or resources. Some refused outright, choosing instead to fortify their own borders. Others sent token support, a few ships here, a handful of soldiers there, but nothing substantial. It was clear that humanity remained fractured, its unity fragile at best. Still, Elena pressed on. If Earth wouldn't unite willingly, she would force it to do so, one battle at a time. Chapter 2. Guerrilla Warfare. With the fleet partially operational, Elena devised a bold strategy. They couldn't match the Krylos head-on, not yet. Instead, she proposed hit-and-run tactics, striking at their supply lines and disrupting their operations. By targeting their weaknesses, they could weaken the enemy while buying precious time for Earth to prepare. Her first mission took them to the edge of known space, where intelligence reports indicated a Krylos resupply convoy. The plan was simple: ambush the convoy, destroy its cargo, and retreat before reinforcements arrived. It sounded easy in theory. In practice, it was anything but. The Dauntless II, a refurbished version of Elena's previous ship, led the assault alongside 3 other cruisers. As they approached the convoy, tension crackled through the bridge. The crew held their breath, waiting for the order to fire. "Engage," Elena commanded, her voice steady. The battle erupted in flashes of light and deafening explosions. The Krylos ships fought fiercely, their superior technology giving them the upper hand. But Elena's forces had the element of surprise, and desperation fueled their resolve. Malik monitored the ship's systems from engineering, barking updates to the bridge. "Shields are holding, but we're taking heavy damage." "Keep us." "Steady, Malik," Elena shouted. "Zara, flank their lead ship." Zara obeyed, maneuvering the Dauntless II into position. With precise timing, she unleashed a barrage of missiles, crippling the enemy vessel. The rest of the convoy scattered, abandoning their cargo in the chaos. "We did it," Zara breathed, relief washing over her face. "For now," Elena said grimly, "this is just the beginning." Over the next several weeks, Elena's fleet launched similar raids targeting Krylos outposts and supply routes. Each victory boosted morale among humanity's ranks, proving that resistance was possible. But the cost was high. Ships were lost, lives sacrificed, and every success came at a price. Admiral Zytheris, the ruthless Krylos commander, took notice. He saw Elena as more than just a nuisance. She was a threat to his plans. And threats, he believed, must be eliminated. Chapter 3. Betrayal Within. Just as Elena prepared for her most ambitious mission yet, an attack on a hidden Krylos base located deep within a nebula, betrayal struck from within. It began with subtle signs. Communications were intercepted, movements were anticipated, and then, during a routine reconnaissance mission, the Dauntless Two narrowly avoided an ambush. Someone was feeding information to the Krylos. Elena confronted Admiral Hargrove, her former superior, demanding answers. "There's a mole in your government," she accused. "Someone's helping the Krylos." Hargrove dismissed her claims, accusing her of paranoia. "You're grasping at straws, Captain. Focus on your mission." But Elena wasn't convinced. She ordered Malik and Zara to investigate, tracing encrypted signals and cross-referencing data. What they uncovered shocked them. A high-ranking official within Earth's government had been selling secrets to the Krylos in exchange for promises of protection. The revelation came too late. As Elena's fleet approached the Nebula base, they walked straight into a trap. Dozens of Krylos ships emerged from the swirling clouds surrounding them. Outnumbered and outgunned, the Forgotten Fleet fought valiantly, but the odds were insurmountable. "We can't hold them off," Malik yelled from engineering. "Shields are failing." Elena clenched her fists, rage boiling inside her. This wasn't supposed to happen. They had planned so carefully, fought so hard, and now betrayal had undone everything. "Retreat," she ordered, her voice breaking. "Save yourselves." One by one, the surviving ships limped away, battered and broken. The mission was a failure, and the loss weighed heavily on everyone. Chapter 4. Uniting humanity back on Earth, anger simmered beneath the surface. Elena refused to stay silent, broadcasting a message directly to the people. She bypassed corrupt officials speaking plainly about the truth. The Krylos were coming, and humanity's survival depended on unity. Her words struck a chord. Across the colonies, people rallied behind her cause. Volunteers poured in, offering their skills and resources. Ships were donated, weapons stockpiled, and alliances forged. For the first time in generations, humanity stood united. With newfound support, Elena launched a daring counterattack against the Nebula base. Using clever tactics and sacrifices, her forces breached the Krylos defenses, crippling their logistics network and dealing a significant blow to their war effort. As the survivors returned home, hope flickered in the darkness. Humanity had taken its first real step toward victory, but the final battle loomed ahead. The galaxy braced itself for the inevitable. News of Elena Voss's victories against the Krylos collective spread far and wide, igniting a fire of defiance among humanity's scattered colonies. For the first time in centuries, Earth stood united, not because its leaders had found wisdom, but because its people demanded action. Billions rallied behind Elena, seeing her not just as a captain, but as a symbol of hope. The Forgotten Fleet was no longer forgotten. Ships once deemed obsolete were now refitted and reinforced, their hulls gleaming with fresh paint and upgraded weaponry. Engineers worked tirelessly to equip them with experimental tech scavenged from abandoned projects. Recruits poured in by the thousands, farmers, miners, teachers, anyone willing to fight for their future. Among them were veterans who had fought in earlier wars, stepping forward to train the next generation. Elena walked through the bustling docks aboard Solace, watching crews prepare for what would likely be humanity's final stand. The air buzzed with activity. Welding sparks flew, engines roared to life, and voices echoed commands across the hangar. Despite the chaos, there was a sense of purpose here, a shared determination that hadn't existed before. Malik Rourke emerged from beneath the belly of a cruiser, his face streaked with grease. "You know," he said, wiping his hands on a rag, "if I didn't hate you so much for dragging me into this mess, I'd say we might actually have a chance." Elena smirked. "Hate me all you want, Malik. Just make sure those engines hold up." Zarlin joined them, holding a data pad filled with tactical updates. Her youthful energy had matured into quiet confidence over the months. "Intelligence confirms the location of the Krylos homeworld," she reported. "It's heavily fortified, but we've got one advantage: they're arrogant. They think we'll surrender before we even try. Good, Elena said firmly. Let them underestimate us. We'll show them what happens when you target the defenseless. As preparations continued, personal tensions simmered below the surface. Malik wrestled with self-doubt, questioning whether his makeshift upgrades would hold under pressure. Zara struggled with the weight of leadership, wondering if she was ready to command troops in battle. And Elena? She carried the burden of knowing how many lives rested on her shoulders. Victory meant survival, failure meant extinction. But there was no turning back now. Humanity's greatest fleet, the Eclipse Fleet, was ready to face the Krylos. Its name was a promise. They would bring darkness upon their enemies, and mercy wouldn't exist in their vocabulary. Chapter 2. The Siege of Krylos Prime. The journey to the Krylos homeworld felt endless. Days stretched into weeks as the Eclipse fleet navigated treacherous asteroid fields and avoided enemy patrols. Morale remained high, bolstered by stories of past victories and dreams of a brighter future. Yet, as they approached their destination, reality set in. Krylos Prime loomed ahead, a fortress planet surrounded by layers of orbital defenses. Massive cannons bristled along its surface, capable of obliterating entire fleets with ease. Swarms of alien ships patrolled the skies, daring anyone to challenge their dominion. "This is it," Elena said, standing on the bridge of the flagship. Dauntless, too. Her voice carried calm authority, masking the storm raging inside her. "Remember why we're here. This isn't just about revenge, it's about justice. For every colony they destroyed, for every life they stole, we owe them nothing less than everything we've got." The fleet launched its assault, diving straight into the heart of the storm. The battle began with a deafening roar as plasma bolts and missiles lit up the void. The Krylos responded with overwhelming force, their weapons cutting through space like lightning. Shields buckled, hulls ruptured, and ships exploded in fiery bursts. Elena's forces fought with desperation born of necessity. Pilots performed daring maneuvers, weaving between enemy fire while launching counterattacks. Gunners unleashed torrents of energy blasts, targeting weak points in the Krylos' armor. Engineers scrambled to repair critical systems mid-battle, sweat dripping from their brows as alarms blared around them. Despite their bravery, the odds seemed insurmountable. Admiral Zytheris himself led the Krylos forces, directing attacks with ruthless precision. His flagship, a colossal behemoth of metal and plasma, loomed over the battlefield, raining destruction on anything foolish enough to approach. "Captain, we can't keep this up," Malik shouted from engineering. "We're losing too many ships." "We don't retreat," Elena replied, her jaw clenched. "Not until we've taken down that fortress." Her words galvanized the crew. With renewed determination, they pressed forward, sacrificing ships to create openings for others. One by one, the orbital defenses fell, leaving Krylos Prime vulnerable. But the cost was devastating. Entire squadrons disappeared in flashes of light, their sacrifices buying precious seconds for the fleet to advance. Finally, the Eclipse fleet breached the planet's atmosphere, descending toward the fortress city at its core. The Krylos fought fiercely, pouring everything they had into defending their stronghold. It was clear they wouldn't go down without a fight. Chapter 3. Face to face with the enemy inside the fortress city, amidst towering spires of blackened steel and glowing conduits, Elena confronted Admiral Zytheris. The Krylos commander stood tall, his chitinous armor glinting under harsh artificial lights. His multifaceted eyes locked onto hers, cold and calculating. "You are persistent," Zytheris said, his voice deep and resonant. "Few humans possess such tenacity, and few tyrants deserve mercy." Elena shot back, raising her weapon. Zytheris chuckled, a sound both eerie and menacing. "Tyrant? You misunderstand. My people fight out of necessity. Our world dies and yours thrives. Is it wrong to seek survival?" "It's wrong to slaughter innocents," Elena countered. "You could have negotiated. Instead, you chose war. There is no negotiation when survival is at stake, Zitharis replied. Now let us see whose resolve is stronger. The two clashed in a fierce duel, their movements swift and deadly. Zitharis wielded a plasma blade, its edge crackling with energy, while Elena relied on agility and strategy. Sparks flew as their weapons met, each strike reverberating through the chamber. Meanwhile, outside the fortress, the battle raged on. Malik and Zara coordinated efforts to disable the Krylos's doomsday weapon, a massive cannon capable of annihilating entire planets. Time was running out. Chapter 4. The Ultimate Sacrifice. Back inside the fortress, Elena finally gained the upper hand. With a well-timed maneuver, she disarmed Zitharis and pinned him to the ground. For a moment she hesitated, considering sparing his life. But then she remembered the countless lives lost to his aggression, the families torn apart, the colonies reduced to rubble. "I'm sorry," she whispered, before delivering the final blow. Outside, Malik and Zara succeeded in sabotaging the doomsday weapon, but at a terrible cost. The reactor destabilized, threatening to destroy the entire facility. Realizing there was no time to escape, Elena made the ultimate sacrifice. She stayed behind to ensure the reactor's destruction, buying her crew enough time to evacuate. As the fortress collapsed in a blinding explosion, the remaining fleet retreated, battered but victorious. The Krylos's leadership crumbled without Zitharis, forcing their surrender. Chapter 5. A New Dawn survivors returned to Earth as heroes, though the scars of war lingered. If Elena survived, she became a beacon of hope, urging humanity to stay united. If she perished, her legacy lived on through those she inspired. Humanity began rebuilding stronger and wiser than before. Colonies forged stronger ties, and new safeguards were established to prevent future conflicts. In the depths of space, a strange signal hinted at another alien presence watching silently. But for now, peace reigned, and Elena Voss's name would forever be etched in history as a leader who refused to bow even in the face of impossible odds.